Very good morning, dear students. So today, on 11th December 2020, in the paper of research methodology for the students of BA semester 5th, I will deal with the 4th unit of your syllabus entitled with formulation of research problem. And students, in that broad topic or unit, the first one is review of literature. And before going to the main genesis of the problem or aim, objectives or hypothesis of the thesis or research, we have to deal with review of literature. So students, let's start with by defining the formulation of the research problem. You can see the situation of researcher before dealing with the research problem. So students, formulation of research problem is the first and important step of research process. It is like the identification of destination before undertaking a journey. And we can say that a research problem is like the foundation of a building. So you have to deal with this specific formulation of research problem, and then we have to tackle the literature review. Students, there are certain steps in the formulation of a research problem. Earlier I told you in various slides, but here I may say that first one is identify a broad field of subject area of interest to you. Second is dissect the dissect the broad area into sub areas. Third is select what is of most interest to you. Then next one will, we may say next one is for a while there's this little bit distraction. So next one is raise your research questions and then formulate the objectives. And after that, the sixth step is access your objectives. And but last but not least is double check all these steps. So students, you have to deal with these various steps while formulation of your research problems. And you may say that there are various steps in this figure prepared like stairs. The first step is identification of subject area. Second step is problem definition and identification of the research area. And the third one is very much important, which I will deal today, is a literature review. Then the fourth step is selection of research design, subjects and data collection techniques. Then the fifth one is data gathering, which I will tell you later on. And sixth one is data processing, analysis, and after that implications and conclusion, and lastly we should deal with the publish and communicate results. That is how to write the research. So these all are the steps of research in which the literature review is a very much important before dealing all these steps and move towards the last step of communicative results. So students, let's start with the literature review. You can see these all are literature, various books, various journals, and you have to choose within this, and then according to your problematic area or research question, you select certain books or journals and then start reading very carefully. Then only you can able to review the literature. So students, let's start with the meaning of literature review. Literature review is the documentation of comprehensive review of the published and unpublished work from secondary sources of data in the areas of specific interest to the researcher. So this is very much important to remember. Then your interest is very much important, and you have to review from the secondary sources of data, and that should be very comprehensive in the documentation form. So literature review meaning you have to tell in the examination, and then you must say that the literature review is an integral part of the entire research process and makes a valuable contribution to the almost every essential areas. So students, a literature review has a number of functions. To begin with, the literature review brings clarity and focus to your research problem. It improves your methodology. It broadens your knowledge base in your research area. It contextualizes your findings and bring clarity and focus to your research problem. You cannot effectively start the literature review search without an idea of the problem you wish to investigate. And students, the literature review can play an extremely important role in shaping your research problem. And it also helps you to define the relationship between your research problem and the body of knowledge in that particular area. So when I'm talking about the broaden your knowledge base in your research area, then we also say that literature review ensures you read widely around the subject area in which you are intend to conduct your research study. It is important to know what other researchers have found in regard to same or similar questions, what theories have been put forward, and what gap exists in the relevant body of knowledge. Regarding the contextualize the findings, literature review helps identifying how your findings compare with the existing body of knowledge. How do answers to your questions compare with what others have found? What contribution have you been able to make to the existing body of knowledge? How your finding different from others? So these all are the basic questions which may be answered through your review of the various literatures. So students, when we are talking about the general guidelines to write a literature review, then we see that this introduce the literature review by pointing out the major research topic that will be discussed. This identifies the broad problem area but don't be too global, and discuss the general importance of your topic for those in your field. And there are 5 steps involved in conducting a literature review, and you have to remember these steps, and you have to write in the examination when there will be questions regarding the review of literature and various steps involved in conducting a literature review. So the first one is search for existing literature in your area of study, and then review the literature selected. Then develop a theoretical framework, develop a conceptual framework, and then lastly writing up the literature reviewed. So these all are the 5 steps of conducting a literature review. So the first one is important, search for existing literature. Students, start with at least some idea of the broad subject area and of the problem you used to investigate in order to set parameters for your research. Next, compile a bibliography for this broad area. There are 2 sources that you can use to prepare a bibliography, and most importantly these 2 are books and journals. So with books and journals, you might think of to start the reviewing your literature for at least compiling some broad subject or some broad idea regarding your research. And the second one is review the literature selected. Now that you have identified several books and articles as useful, the next step, dear student, is to start reading them critically to pull together themes and issues that are associated. This is very much important. If you do not have a theoretical framework or themes in mind to start with, use separate sheets of paper for each article or books. So these two you can practice while reviewing the literature. So don't attempt to cover everything written on your topic. You will need to pick out the research most relevant to the topic you are studying. You will use the studies in your literature review as evidence that your research question is an important one. So dear students, while conducting your own research, your own searched problem, you will use the review literature for the evidence purposes, and that is very much important for the research questions. So it is important to cover research relevant to all the variables being studied. Research that explains the relationship between these variables is the top priority. And lastly, you will need to plan how you will structure your literature review and write from this plan. So students, after talking about the various steps of the for the reviewing of the literature, there are certain types of literature review. To start with, let's start with the first one is topical order. How to write or how to narrate the literature review is a different types. First one is a topical order regarding topics. Organized by main topics or issues, emphasizes the relationship of the issues to the main problem. So when you are reviewing like topical order, you have to deal with this. And then this is very much important. We use this type of review literature, that is a chronological order. That means organize the literature by dates the research was published. For example, when you are dealing with 1971 published work and then up to till 2020 published work, you have to make it clear that you have to submit it chronological order. That means 1970s published work is first and 2020 published work is last. So this is called as chronological order. And then there is a problem cause solution order. Organizes the review so that it moves from the problem to the solution. And students, we are also dealing with these two types, that is general to specific order. For this we call it as a funnel approach. This examine broad-based research first and then focus on specific studies that related to the topic. So this is general to specific order called as funnel approach. And then it comes specific to general order. And this try to discuss specific research studies so conclusion can be drawn. So these all are the various types of reviewing the literature in form of various forms, and this is also a topics for organizing your literature review. So students, after reviewing the literature, summarize what has been done, what has not been done, and what needs to be done. So this is very much important. Then while critically reviewing the literature, thoroughly see that what has been done, what has not been done, and what needs to be done. Then only you will very much focus on your research problem. Remember, you are arguing your point of why your study is important. Your study is important. Then pose a formal research question or state a hypothesis. Be sure that this is clearly linked to your literature review. That's why literature review is important. All sources cited in the literature review should be listed in the references. This is also very much important. To sum, A literature review should include introduction, summary, and critique of journal articles, justifications of your research project or dissertation work, and the hypothesis for your research project or research work. So students, how to write references is the next question. Then to write the references, broadly there is three types: book, journal, I have told you also, and nowadays online document is also very much important. So format of citing references is like this. For example, for the book, when there are dual authors, then you can write author, first author, then second author, year of publication, title of that book, edition of that book, publisher name, etc. This is form of how to reference or how to write in bibliography. And if there is a only singular author, then you can see, like you can write this, like for example, I have written Lation CB, year of publication 1997, name of the book, Management of the World Wide Web, Angelwood's Cliffs Publications, Printers Hall Publishers. So these are all the formats. And if you are talking of the journal articles, then there is also a format. Author one, you write author first, then author second. Suppose I am Anup Kumar Mishra. So if I have published some articles in any journals, so and you are Vivek Kumar, then you should write Mishra Anup Kumar Vivek 2020 publication. If there is a title of article is reverse migration in case of rural Varanasi, that will be the title of research, and title of journal, and name of journal is Journal of Economics and Commerce, volume number is 11, issue will second, and page number is 20 to 26. So I have given a hypothetical example to explain how to write these references. Okay, and students, for the electronic sources, again you write the author's name, year of publications, month or day of publication, title of that article, title of newspaper, or retrieved from home page or web addresses. For example, Nadar C 2009 June 19, mental health issues here problem children, the age retrieved from http://www.theage.com.au. So through this example, you can learn how to write the references and how to use these references in bibliography. So review of literature is important, and as well as references is also important. So students, there are some common errors made in the literature reviews. You should alert from these common errors. For example, review isn't logically organized is a common error. Review isn't focused on most important facets of the study. Review doesn't relate literature to the study. Too few reference or outdated references cited is also a problem. Review isn't written in author's own words is also a common error. Review reads like a series of disjointed summaries is a common error. Review doesn't argue a point. Generally, researchers do the error. And lastly, recent references are omitted. Many researchers omit the recent references. So these all are the common errors while conducting the literature reviews. You all should avoid these type of errors for the better research review. And one more term is there you have to learn of before doing the review of literature, that is a plagiarism. The term plagiarism. This means using another writer's words without proper citation. Using another writer's ideas without proper citation. Citing a source but reproducing the exact word without quotation marks. Borrowing the structure of another author's phrase or sentences without giving the sources. Borrowing all or part of another student's paper. Using paper writing service or having a friend write the paper. So this is called as plagiarism. साहित्य की चोरी हिंदी में बोलते हैं. और एक रिसर्चर को ईमानदार होना चाहिए. किसी का भी कोटेशन, किसी के शब्द, किसी के आइडियाज को अगर आप लेते हैं तो सिंपली आपको करना है, यू हैव टू मेक रेफरेंस और गिव योर सोर्सेस, एंड देन यू विल बी ए ऑनेस्ट रिसर्चर. एंड फॉर कंडक्टिंग द रिसर्च you should move on the path of honesty. So students, lastly I will see the summarize this topic by saying the topic, that is a systematic review, narrative review, conceptual review, traditional review, and critical review, and lastly state of the art review. So I have done this in a summary part, and just you see this topic and move forward for your final examination. Thank you dear students. Take care of yourself.